ZoomerLife. Health, wellness, and longevity from the world's brightest minds.
And finally, two visitors from New York who believe in creativity, as do I. This is Carrie and Alton.
Thank you. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. We're so grateful to Moses for inviting us, so grateful for Kate Bengay for her amazing travel agent skills, among her many other skills, for organizing this. But I think most importantly, I'm completely amazed that you guys are still so alert and oriented. I mean, when I'm at my scientific conferences, it's death and destruction by this time in the afternoon. So really impressed, and you know, the fact that Moses invited us here, he was very prescient in doing that because 3 days ago, I'm 52, Carrie's 53, and 3 days ago, I received our 2 AARP cards telling us that we can derive all these benefits. And we're very excited about that, except for the fact it was just a big tease, because with one child who's just a sophomore in college and 2 others much younger, I think the idea of retirement is just very elusive for us right at this point. So we're going to proceed with a talk, and I hope that you'll derive something from it. Are we going to get the slides up so we can? Well, maybe. If we don't, that's fine. Let's see. I was just complimenting everyone on the incredible technological, how there's been no glitches the entire day. I mean, this is what happens to us constantly at our scientific conferences, but at any rate, okay. So, you know what? Yeah, I've been using that for a while here. And our clock is ticking. It's bad. We're using up our time. We don't have it. Okay, perfect. Okay.
We don't have it. Maybe
so
we need our teacher.
the good news is I have the slides right here. You can never know.
We can test our memory, though.
Anyway,
yeah.
I think that's the fundamental thing. And, you know, we want to talk today. What's also amazing is everybody's talking about what we wanted to talk about. So we really don't have that much more to say. I mean, you know, it's amazing. Like, for instance, Michael Caulfield and Mike Evans earlier were talking about the importance of exercise, and that's critical to one of the messages of the book. But so we're going to focus today on your own 2 hands. And but in general, I mean, making things is so important for us.
So this is really, we wrote a book. It's called The Creativity Cure, and it came out in May. And the basic message of the book is that we want to concur with what other speakers have said today about habits and lifestyle being so important for wellness. Exercise, a couple of other things that we very much believe in is insight or self-knowledge. The truth shall set you free. The other thing is we believe very strongly in passive moments. People are very, very busy and round-the-clock working and checking emails. And psychologically, I'm a psychiatrist. Alton is an orthopedic surgeon. And psychologically, a psychiatrist. And it's very important for people to have downtime, boredom, time to daydream, like maybe many of us did when we were young, wandering through the woods. It's very important for creativity and for wellness. So this is something that we advocate in what we call our 5-part prescription. The other part of it is your own 2 hands, which Alton is going to talk about. And we have something that we call mind shift, which is once you've done insight and movement exercise is something that we greatly believe in, what we call mind rest, the passive moments. Your own 2 hands, there should be a shift in the way you feel about your daily life, yourself and your situation, hopefully. And we believe very strongly that no matter what you've been through, no matter what's happened to you, if you can change the inner perspective, cognitively change the way you think about it, and keep a routine and keep moving through, you can still have happy moments. Nobody is excluded from that. So we're going to focus today on your own 2 hands because making things has been shown to be very, very important for elevating mood, dealing with anxiety and depression. Making things makes us better.
And it does, and it has to become a part of our re-education. We believe very strongly in the fact that all of you know this. But the problem is our kids don't know this, and our schools are forgetting this. And making has to, and using our own 2 hands, if we don't do that, we're lost. And we're going to, I think, hopefully make a good argument today for that in the next 13 minutes. There's a recent study that came out of the UK that just 2 weeks ago that showed that kids now in the UK, and I'm certain that in the US it's much worse, are spending 34 hours a week on either television or digital information, and about half and half now. And again, I think it's probably worse in the U.S. But the problem is that is almost a 40-hour work week for these kids to be doing things that can really lead them someplace fruitful in life. And we remember that our two hands, our forebears, and perhaps some of us, built North America with our own two hands. That was how it was done. And then we relegated our own two hands to blue-collar status. Then we all tried to achieve higher education and so forth, but we forgot that our hands are still fundamental to our development and to our health and well-being. And hopefully we will say more about that. But
And so we feel strongly that in many ways, getting back to doing things, and I think perhaps Canadians do this more than Americans, actually, in terms of your culture, that you're naturally making things. I know a lot of knitters, and so that's wonderful, and we need more of that, certainly in our culture and in our country. So, as we said, it enhances health, and when we are too ensconced in technological life, there's too much passivity. We need a little bit of it, but when there's too much, we can actually get depressed, and we have what is considered a cultural malaise. Things are too faster is not always better, and more convenient is not always better, because it deprives us of processes. We need process to get into a deeper place, to feel very engaged, to feel alive, to reach our potential. All of these things are very good for mood and for a sense of well-being.
I mean, overstimulation can lead to undernourishment of our bodies and our minds and our souls. And I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I love gadgets and gizmos. We have Apple products all over our house. But at times, you need to remember that it's really probably better to grow some apples and make your own applesauce. My dad is 89, never taken a medication. He thinks faster is better. He just bought a new iMac desktop because his other one was too slow. So we believe in technology, but he also spends a great amount of time teaching our kids, speaking of elders, teaching our kids how to make things. They'll spend all day making they'll go out in the boat, they live on a lake in Austin, Texas, and they'll go out and get an old piece of dirty driftwood, clean it up, shellac it, put several layers of stain and then coating on there, then make a router and now it's a base for it. And it's not the point of we have them all over our house now, but it's not about the idea of that final object. It was a whole day process for them. And they had a picnic, and they found the wood, they hiked around and so forth. And it was just it's just so important. And you all who have a little more perhaps free time than we do, I'm relying on my parents, and we're relying on my parents to teach our kids some of the things that unfortunately we don't necessarily have the time for.
So there's actually research to back up the idea that creativity makes people happy. And there was a researcher and scholar from McMaster, Dr. Andrew Brink, who wrote about this, and he said that creativity is the original antidepressant. And we have found through our research, and we're not going to go into all the research, that there are 5 very powerful benefits from hand use. And I would just want to also say that this has become more important because we used to naturally just make things by hand, or make the pie by hand, take care of our cars, whatever. Now we have so much service that, again, we're deprived of the process. And so we have to actually make a conscious effort to do things by hand.
So we've broken down those 5 benefits that we see into unbelievable, wow.
Oh!
We're saved. Let's see where we are real fast. Let's see. Wow, this is crazy. Talk about rejuvenation.
I think you have to go back.
That's ahead. Going back.
Yeah.
Going back.
5 benefits. 5 benefits.
There we are. Okay.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh no. Wait. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Wait. Okay. Let's see. You said that, and there we are. Okay, so here's our quick 5 benefits. We're gonna roll because, yes.
Okay, we're gonna zip.
We're going to
faster's better in this situation.
faster's better.
So
Yes,
we're gonna,
yes.
Okay, yeah.
So psychological, physical. We're going to cover these. So intellectual, creative, economic, practical, and environmental. And so for the psychological, physical, Carrie.
So good feeling and fit bodies follow from meaningful hand use. Well, what is meaningful? Meaningful can mean anything from I have patients that come in, clients who come in and talk about how folding clothes really calms them down. I've had kids who work in chemistry labs who talk about wiping the counters. It can be anything from tending to your family, making a meal, to actually making a painting, or it can involve making a repair, but something that is connected emotionally to someone that you care about or something that you care about.
So
that's meaningful.
Yes,
So,
and it was just addressed, the elder concept of tending and taking care of people.
And so one of the things that when we've gone around and we've given talks, a lot of people have said, when we talk about the creativity cure and being creative, people say, I'm not artistic, and then they hole up and they become very inhibited, and I was never good at that. But the definition of creativity is really very wide, and it has to do with an open-mindedness. It's actually very interesting that the same criteria to describe creativity are the same as mental health. It has to do with open-mindedness, autonomy, non-judgmental, spontaneity, being that way with yourself and with other people. It's taking risks. So it's not about making something fantastic or beautiful for somebody else's eye, but but having a process.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
And so the cognitive benefits are very, very clear. And some people have touched today, some of the great speakers have, but hand use actually does make you smarter. It stimulates your somatosensory cortex, that surface of the brain that's so critically important. And what's cool about that is the surface of the brain. I don't know, have any of you guys met the homunculus before? The neuroscientist invented this guy, and he is a representation of our body on the surface of our brain, on our somatosensory cortex. And what's cool about that is you see how huge his tiny his feet are and how huge his hands are. That's because 60% of our somatosensory cortex is for the hands only. 60%. So if you're using your hand, and the reason we developed bigger brains and are no longer Neanderthals, some of us are, but no longer Neanderthals, is because we started making tools. We started making things and making bowls and pottery and so forth, and that's when our brains grew, and then we had less hair and so forth. So, so that's really critically important. And so a question for you guys now out here is, first of all, do you think better when your hands are busy? And I want to show of hands when you're doing whatever these are. Does this free your mind? Do you think of solutions to problems? And I wanted to ask this before, and I forgot because we had some slide issues. How many of you are actively engaged in what Carrie's talked about as meaningful hand use? Something, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's something that you know that you do with your hands that brings you great pleasure and relaxation and so forth. Great. And how many of you are involved in educating someone else, perhaps a niece or a nephew, or a grandchild, or a child, or were engaged at some point in teaching somebody that? And it's so important,
Yeah.
and I'm not surprised. So anyway, so the other interesting thing is the kids that are spending nonstop time at the keyboard are doing video games. Now, video games do have hand-eye coordination benefits, but in general, if you're using a keyboard, it's very different than writing by hand. It's been shown, the good research has shown that writing by hand, learning cursive, enhances your thought process. And some states, Indiana the most recently, are eliminating this in the US as a requirement for education. And they're teaching keyboarding skills instead. And I'm sorry, it's not the right answer. So.
Oh, the answer's up there. I was going to ask you. Okay.
Oh, we were going to quiz you. It was a big quiz at the end of the day.
So there, Robert Ruth Bernstein and Michelle Bernstein did some research on what did the great scientists and innovators have in common, and they were very surprised to find out that these people had hobbies from a very young age. They were tinkerers. They built things. And this creates a discipline in terms of the self, the hand-eye coordination, but also a freedom in the mind. The combination of a disciplined mind and a free mind, once it's in your body and you really know how to do the task, your mind can let go. So that was very, very interesting for us to discover.
And what's also interesting is that we were told that Steve Jobs actually, when he was in college, or his pastime was, and that made him free up and think and be creative was calligraphy. So there you have it. He was pretty creative.
So this is what we were just talking about, the aha moment. You know, I'm a psychoanalyst and psychiatrist, and so I deal a lot with trying to get people to unearth the unconscious, because that can be very useful for a number of reasons, for mental health, but also for creative action. So that's what that's about.
And everyone has this. All of you have it. You've already exhibited it all day today, and in being so interested in everything that's going on. But you must be able to embrace the mistakes and not worry about that. Just keep being curious and keep stimulating yourself and those around you, and that's and follow that.
And I just wanted to make one comment about that. You know, there were some other people, Runco and Richards, who did research on eminent versus everyday creativity. So we're not all going to be a Picasso or a Van Gogh, and yes, there are some mood disorders associated with very great creators, but everyday creativity is something that we all have, and we can all explore, and it's very useful for mental health and happiness.
And so the economic, we're running out of time, but you know, we have to go back and teach our kids how to make things again, to build things, because that's how you create true innovation and new ideas. Because when you're making these things and you know how things work, I mean, most of the things that our kids are using and we're using are black boxes. We don't know what's going on inside them. We've forgotten or maybe never knew those things. And Thomas Friedman and Michael Mandelbaum wrote a book called That Used to Be Us. And I don't know if any of you have seen that, but he talks about how, and many other economists are echoing this, many business people are saying that the only way for North America to really, for the long term, succeed with economic vitality and continued progress and growth is through a return to manufacturing. 75 years ago, 87% of us were involved in some direct, meaningful hand use, making things, building things, assembly line or inventing and so forth. Now 8% of us are. The rest of us are in the service industry, and that's just not the future.
Said that?
Okay. And this is related. I mean, retooling our education is basically the same message, and that is we have a hysteria in the U.S. especially. I don't think it's quite so bad here, but this whole college hysteria thing is killing us all, because the kids are so stressed, and we think that it's all about just scoring well on standardized tests. And unfortunately, if you use your hands, you actually do score better on standardized tests if you do these things at part of your time. But we're trying to start a movement to bring back shop class, an elevated, more you know.
There's this idea that accumulation of facts and hyper-cerebral activity is going to make kids smarter, but actually the new research is showing that it's really not. It's being outside in nature, exercise, just as it helps with Alzheimer's disease, is very good for cognitive development. So it's getting into our bodies.
We have officially run out of time, but I think we've already hopefully proven, and I think you know this. I mean, Thoreau knew it, Emerson knew it. Using your hands, making things, fosters self-reliance, builds character, grit, honesty, humility, and so forth. And it also stimulates innovation, and we need that desperately. And do-it-yourself is coming back through the Maker Faire and other movements and so forth. Smartphones, smartphone apps, the anti-DIY, I had a couple of stories to tell about that, but you know, they may be. I mean, we don't need, you know, our iPhones doing everything for us. And so, you know, Carrie's dad used to always say, put your hands in the dirt, just put your hands in the dirt. He was
He was a professor, but the time that he looked the happiest was when he would drive us down to Philadelphia, and he came from a family, he was Italian, and he came from stonemasons, and the fences, and not fences, the walls that he built at a certain college, he was very proud of that, of how he had done that. So.
And repairing is caring. When we repair, we rather than tossing into landfills, we reuse, we recycle, we save dollars for ourselves and for our economy and our climate. And so my dad used to say, I love to find something broken. He still says it. I love to find something broken and see what I can do with it. And we can repair ourselves by repairing these things in our home that mean something to us.
And analysts have done that research on when you put it outside, you also heal the inside.
Right.
So
that's it. So sorry for the glitch of this, but
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you've had a proper and practical demonstration of creativity, which is what you need when the digital world abandons you. and leaves you to actually do the old-fashioned thing, which is talk.
Thank you.
And I must say, when I need to write something, I find a big difference between thinking about what I might write and actually sitting down and writing it. The intermediate stage is dictating, but it always changes when I actually sit down, pick up that pen, and write with my hands.
It's in your hand.
And we apologize. Thank you for being
Thank
good
you.
sports
Thank you
about
for
those
having us.
last slides. Regrettably, I had the production manager executed before we were
It's a
able to
good
find
hand
them.
manual task. It actually is. It's very good for your hands.
But you're sweethearts. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.